All right, welcome to the show, y'all. Welcome. So in just a second, Jon Stewart gives a brutal reaction to Biden's pardon of Hunter Biden. We'll talk about that. We have a right-wing coup in South Korea. Genuinely scary times, man. I was just following it casually online, as you know, just like another day in paradise here. Oh, look, a coup. But it flopped miserably. So we'll break that down for you. Then we'll get to chaos erupting in Syria. The Syrian civil war is clearly back on, and the entire country is on the brink. Rebels have taken Aleppo. Assad, according to some reports, is hiding out in Moscow. So a lot to dive into there. Then we'll get to Bill Maher says he may actually quit his show over Trump. Interesting. MAGA also is planning a hostile takeover of the entire media, including MSNBC. You have Elon Musk flirting with the idea, which, you know, it's one thing if you don't take it seriously, but you got to bear in mind, this is literally how it started with him buying Twitter, is him flirting with the idea in public and then eventually following through. Then we'll get to a liberal goes on CNN and absolutely blows up the panel. This is over Pete Hegseth and his choice for defense secretary. And looky here, Vivek viciously attacked Elon Musk for years, and we have the receipts, so we'll talk about all that and more. You guys know the drill. Do me a big favor and please subscribe to the channel. You can also click that bell icon so you get a notification every single time that a video drops. I'd very much appreciate that. And then thank you, of course, to everybody who supports this show on Patreon. We couldn't do it without you guys. So without any further ado, here we go. Let's get into it. So let's start with Jon Stewart. So Jon Stewart did The Daily Show the other day, and he had a vicious reaction to Joe Biden pardoning Hunter Biden. Let's take a listen.
President-elect Trump weighing in as well. He says, does the pardon given by Joe to Hunter include the January 6 hostages who have now been in prison for years? Such an abuse and miscarriage of justice.
Oh, you pardoned your son. Well, what about the people who tried to help me overthrow the government? There's kind of a leap there. It's like going, you know, oh, you're going to let the kids stay up to watch SNL, but you're not even going to try to help me burn the neighbor's house down? So, obviously, Republicans are going to criticize. But Biden did make this line of attack particularly available, seeing as how he spent so long saying he wouldn't do it because of how much he respects the system.
I'm not going to do anything. I said I abide by the jury decision, and I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
Will you accept the jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is?
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes.
Now watch this dive. Here's the thing. I don't know if you've ever found yourself in this situation. If you ever find yourself in a situation where you are being questioned about pardoning your son, do not do it at the swim-up bar of a Club Med. And also, not for nothing, with an old guy, I mean, Biden squints indoors. So you don't face the guy in the sun and try and get an honest answer. It immediately looks untrustworthy. You're going to give him a pardon? But you know what, ladies and gentlemen? Hypocrisy isn't illegal, nor is it particularly unusual in politics. It's not like he's ever going to run again. So why not take care of your kid? Even if you said you weren't gonna. I respect it. I don't have a problem with it. The problem is the rest of the Democrats made Biden's pledge to not pardon Hunter the foundation of their defense of America, this grand experiment.
One political party remains committed to the rule of law and the other doesn't. It's that simple.
Hunter Biden's not above the law. No one is above the law. Democrats stand for the rule of law.
We accept the outcome because that's how the rule of law works.
Because the justice system that convicted his only surviving son is the same justice system he's vowed to protect. And if that doesn't tell you who Joe Biden is, I don't really know what does.
I think I know what does.
Yeah, and the thing is, they lost. They lost. They really leaned hard into the rule of law and democracy and our institutions, yes? They really leaned hard into that, and they lost. And so afterwards to be like, okay, well, if you guys are going to elect somebody who has 91 criminal charges, 34-time convicted felon, tried to overthrow the last election, I'm sorry, I can't blame them for going YOLO, right? Now, Jon Stewart is going to make the debate ending point, in my opinion, at the end of the segment here, so hang in there for that. Here we go.
And now look at the dance Democrats have to do.
Be honest, the only reason why they went after Hunter the way they did, and I've talked to many federal prosecutors about this, is because he's the president's son.
People have to remember the president has lost 2 children already, and he does not need to lose another one to more political witch hunts.
The, crowing from Republicans, but we're talking about, Donald Trump is a convicted felon who literally pardoned his daughter's father-in-law and just made him ambassador to France.
So for anyone that wants to clutch their pearls now because he decided that he was going to pardon his son, I would say take a look in the mirror.
Ma'am, we will take a look in that mirror, but we are taking off. So if you could just put this shit on airplane mode and let us get home for the holidays. Yes. To everything that you guys were saying, if you hadn't made Hunter Biden not receiving a pardon the Mason-Dixon line of morality between Democrats and Republicans, there's a big gap between the law is the only thing that separates us from the animals and the monkey threw shit at me first. I had no choice. This is what Biden's decision has done. Look how confident and eloquent our Democratic representatives were back when they thought they had the moral high ground on this issue.
I've not heard a single Democrat anywhere in the country cry fraud, cry fixed, cry rigged, cry kangaroo court. You don't hear a single peep out of any Democrat saying that. Why? We believe in the rule of law.
And now look at what even he, one of the most verbally dexterous attorneys we have on Capitol Hill, has been reduced to.
Do you think President Biden should pardon Hunter Biden?
So there are lots of claims of political prosecution and political.
And was Hunter politically?
Well, I mean, obviously that's a judicial point, and then you've got to look at what the evidence is. And I don't know enough.
So should the president pardon him?
I mean, again, that is a unilateral executive power that.
And should he use it?
Well, the power exists for the president to show mercy for people.
I mean, we have an executive, and we have a judicial, and then a legislative, and then smoke bomb.
I mean, look, just be honest about it, right? Just be like, hey, look, we thought people truly cared about the rules and the norms and the laws and, holding ourselves up to higher ideals. We really thought that was the case. It turns out we were wrong. It turns out they were willing to overlook Trump's countless pardons of his corrupt goons that he was close to, and also overlook, pardons like he pardoned Charles Kushner, Jared Kushner's dad, and then just made him ambassador to France. So apparently people just don't care about the thing that we thought they cared about. So YOLO, we'll do 1/10 of the shit that they did. And by the way, nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to care. There's going to be 0 voters who in the next election go, I would vote for Democrats, but Joe Biden did pardon Hunter Biden. So just be honest about it. Just be honest.
First time I've crouched since Thanksgiving, and that did not go well. But then why this weekend? Normally you drop a controversial pardon like the way you buy porn at a gas station, in a flurry of other distracting purchases and pardons. Oh, yeah, what do you give me that? Breath mints there, the WD-40, the squeegee there, one of those anal magazines. Some corn nuts. Pardon for my son. The Big Dicks Like Chicks pamphlet.
By the way, there's actually a real answer as to why Biden decided to do it now. The reporting is that he was waiting to see what Trump's picks will look like, and if Trump is going to pick somebody who is not going to do a revenge tour and try to get retribution and vengeance. And when Trump picked Kash Patel for the head of the FBI, Biden was like, oh, okay, so this guy's actually going to try to legally go after, Letitia James, and which, by the way, if you're actually concerned about all that stuff, you better have more pardons. You better pardon Jack Smith and Fonnie Willis and others who you think will be unfairly targeted by Trump, right? But my guess is he thinks they're not going to stop on Hunter. He's probably at the top of their list, and so I'm going to do it because I think Kash Patel is a retribution pick. So that's what the reporting says, is that if he had picked somebody more mainstream who Biden thought this guy is going to color within the lines and not do political retribution, then I won't pardon him. But since he picked Kash Patel, he's like, okay, I'm going to pardon him. So that's what the reporting says.
So why did you do it now?
As NBC News first reported, the president did decide to reverse course over the holiday weekend at his family's annual Thanksgiving getaway in Nantucket.
Thanksgiving.
So now he's doing, he's doing an acting job of what happened at the Biden family Thanksgiving. Here we go. He's playing the role of Hunter.
I'll be playing the role of Hunter. How are you, Father? Are you well, Father? I'm a bit down. You know, last Thanksgiving with the family for a while. If only someone could change that. This turkey is delicious. Obviously not one of the ones that was pardoned. Can't act. Anyway. Still on camera. Look, man, the Democrats made this case an example of why Americans should believe in our system. And it's hard. Democrats have the tougher road of defending our institutions and systems as being flawed but still valuable. Republicans just run on blowing this shit up. But at every turn, Democrats keep getting caught creating a purity test for a system that they can't seem to pass themselves.
When you saw the photograph of the top secret documents laid out on the floor at Mar-a-Lago, what did you think to yourself?
How that could possibly happen. How anyone could be that irresponsible.
Irresponsible. The careful stewardship of our nation's most classified documents is foundational to the institutions. It's why we are... What's that? Oh, really? In his garage. Next to his car. Parse away.
By the way, my Corvette's in a locked garage. Okay? So it's not like you're sitting out in the street.
It's totally different.
To be fair, it is different because when the FBI came up to Biden and said, hey, you have some classified documents and you need to turn them over, he was like, okay, here you go. My bad. Whereas with Trump, he was like, sure, I'll give them up. And he gave up some, didn't give up all of them, had them shifted from one room at Mar-a-Lago to another. They were in the bathroom, they were in the ballroom. He was whispering state secrets into the ear of an Australian billionaire at Mar-a-Lago. So not only did he take classified documents, he also stonewalled the FBI, and then he obstructed justice. So it isn't exactly analogous, but point taken.
Would have to get on their tippy toes to peer into the garage to see those documents using some sort of image capture technology, which I'm sure doesn't exist. Spies would also be distracted by my sickest Corvette. And let's not forget, in contrast to Donald Trump, the moral stand Biden took on Saudi Arabia after they murdered one of our journalists.
We were going to, in fact, make them pay the price and make them, in fact, the pariah that they are.
Yeah, boom. Khashoggi will not be forgotten. Candidate Biden says this moral line must be drawn. And President Biden?
Tonight, with one fist bump, a pariah no more.
It's just a fist bump. It's just a fist bump. Come on, no. Trump would have probably done the whole, like, boom. That is a moral line I won't cross. I'll just meep. But he would have done the whole, boom. Whee. And, of course, there's the border.
We're going to restore our moral standing in the world and our historic role as a safe haven for refugees and asylum seekers. My Lord, we've never made asylum seekers seek asylum outside the United States of America.
We've never done it tomorrow, what Trump is doing, until, of course, my poll numbers start to go down.
Today, I'm announcing actions to bar migrants who cross our southern border unlawfully from receiving asylum.
Rules, loopholes, and norms. The distance between the systems Democrats say they are revering and the one that they're using when they need to is why people think it's rigged. Use the rules, use the loopholes, the norms, but also use it to help the people, not just those people related to you.
It's a great point, right? So he did a segment, I don't know if it was last week or 2 weeks ago, where he was basically saying Democrats need to start using the loopholes. Democrats need to say, fuck the rules, we're going to get done what we need to get done for the American people. Right. And then in this segment, he's saying like, oh, look, you're able to ignore the rules and do what you want. But why are you only doing that in instances of perpetuating a shitty foreign policy and pardoning your son? Right. Because when it comes to domestic issues and Democrats are trying to get something done, what happens? They always say, oh, my God, I'm handcuffed. Oh, my God, there was nothing I could do. Oh, my God, the parliamentarian said no. Oh, my God, Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema blocked me. And what am I supposed to do? I guess I got to water down the bill 85% before I try to get it passed. I'm thinking, of course, about Build Back Better and the IRA, right? And the point of use the loopholes, ignore the rules, do everything you can to get something through, act more like the Republicans, that point is predominantly and first and foremost for domestic and economic issues to improve the lives of the American people, right? So the example I gave is on student loan debt reduction. So Biden did some of it. Then he did another round of it. And then the Republicans sued. It went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court slapped it down. Biden tried it another way, right? And now, by the way, Trump's coming back in and saying we're going to stop the pause of the student loan debt repayment. And we're also going to increase the payments back to whatever the original numbers were, which were higher, right? And so now is a situation, Joe Biden, where, yeah, fuck those norms, fuck the rules. You come out and say, according to the 1965 Higher Education Act, the Secretary of Education has every right to do whatever they want with that student loan debt that the federal government holds, which is about 96% of that debt. Wipe it completely off the books. Get rid of all of the records. And then when the Supreme Court comes out again and says, oh, you're not allowed to do that, you say, well, I don't know what you want me to tell you. Number one, it's part of my official duties under the 1965 Higher Education Act. I have every right to do it. Number two, all the records are gone. So sorry, there's no more student loan debt for anybody. That's what Jon Stewart means when he says ignore the rules, exploit the loopholes, bring a gun to a gunfight and not a spoon to a gunfight. That's what he means. Where I differ from Jon Stewart is I could not care less about this Hunter Biden pardon. I could not care less. Because the amount of shit, like the idea that this sets a bad precedent that Trump is going to exploit, which to be fair, John's not making this argument, but I've heard other people make this argument. That idea is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Trump already pardoned so many people in his first term who didn't deserve it. He pardoned Steve Bannon for this massive fraudulent scheme where he stole Trump supporters' money and pretended like it was going to go towards a border wall, and it didn't. He pardoned so many people who were involved in corrupt schemes within his administration. And he's already said 1,000 times, I'm going to pardon the January 6thers when I get back in there. And so the idea, oh, now you've given him the ability to do, he was going to do it anyway. So then the question is, just should you do the thing that you want to do? And the answer is yes. But of course, it should be, the scope should be way broader than just, I'm going to pardon my son, right? To be fair to Biden, he did pardon a lot of all the weed offenders, nonviolent weed offenders held at the federal level. But yeah, if you're going to pardon Hunter, maybe go a little further. Maybe not just nonviolent weed offense, but nonviolent cocaine offense, nonviolent crack offense, things of that nature, right? But the thing they actually nabbed him on was back taxes, which Hunter ended up paying off anyway, right? That was one thing. And the other thing was buying a gun while like being an addict, right? And so the idea that like, oh my God, this is the thing, he should be in prison for decades over. It's like, who are we kidding? Let's stop. That's nonsense. And so I have no problem whatsoever with the pardon, especially because Republicans just voted for a guy who committed 91 crimes and like nobody talks about it anymore. Nobody cares. Tried to overturn the last election. It's a yawn fest. Everybody's just like, yeah, it is what it is. He gets to get away with that. And if he gets to get away with that, I'm sorry, Hunter can buy a gun while high on crack with his balls hanging out of his zipper for all I care. Right? So I'm not exactly where Stewart is. I'm not exactly where Stewart is because in my mind, it's like, okay, well, at least for once, you actually decided, fuck the rules, which I want more of that from the Democrats. Fuck the norms, fuck the rules, fuck the institutions. Apparently the voters prefer just action. Just do something and do anything and everything you can to get something done. Yes, admittedly, pardoning your son is not at the highest moral level on that front. But shit, get stuff done. Use this mindset in other areas as well. The problem is, and again, this is a point that Stewart makes, is like, when it comes to doing shitty foreign policy and perpetuating the empire, Democrats and Republicans completely and utterly ignore the rules and ignore the laws and ignore international law. We're arming and funding a genocide. And there's this weird dichotomy with the Democrats where when it comes to foreign policy, they're like, fuck all the rules. There are no rules. We get to do what we want, bitch. But when it comes to domestic economic policy, trying to get good things done for the American people, like pay family leave or higher minimum wage, that's when all of a sudden they're a stickler for the rules and they're a stickler for the process. And they're like, oh my God, there's nothing we could do. What I want to see is literally the exact opposite of that. When it comes to foreign policy, when it comes to international law, I want you to abide by that. I want you to abide by international law. I want you not to fund war crimes and arm genocidal countries like Israel or Saudi Arabia. So like abide by the rules internationally. But when it comes to domestic economic policy, I want you to do everything you can to get your agenda through. And there are plenty of loopholes that are there for a reason. Exploit those loopholes. So that's what I would say on that. So him and I have a slight disagreement here, but you know what? I still want Jon Stewart 2028. And look, you could see his appeal even just in this segment, because he's making an argument here that applies to me, and that appeals, I should say, to me. And it would also, make a Republican laugh. And I saw a bunch of right-wing accounts tweeting this out because they think it's sort of just like a fuck Biden segment. It's not. If you hear the point he made at the end, the point is not fuck Biden. The point is, oh, okay, so if we're going to ignore the rules and everything, yes, do that for us, not just for your son. That's the point, and that's undeniable. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.